Welcome. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and you know you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we would love to hear from you today. Just send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Well, hun, we're real excited and privileged to have our very own bishop here with us today, who is the Bishop of Birmingham in Alabama, the Most Reverend Robert Baker. We pray for him often, don't we? And we're just delighted that he is here. And today we're going to be sharing. They had a beautiful Lenten reflection where ministers and politicians got together at Beeson Divinity School last March. It was. And it's called Black and White America. How deep is the divide? And so here, you know, Birmingham, we moved here in 1980. Birmingham we came here to make Birmingham famous for racial reconciliation, just as famous as it was for the racial divide. That was our heart cry when we came here. So we've been here for 36 years, and we are still believing the encounter one-on-one matters.
And that was the reason for this conference, this conversation that Bishop Baker and Dean George and others called for here in Birmingham last March, as you said, to come together in an encounter, listening to various voices, respect, dialogue, hope. And Bishop Baker really feels that in a unique way that the church especially is positioned to be a great instrument of healing in our country and throughout the world. So he held this conference. He's going to be sharing about it today on our show. And like you said, Joy, that Birmingham would become as famous for reconciliation as it once was for divisiveness. And that perhaps this conference, and that it's kind of a living conference because it's going to continue to go on, this dialogue, conversation about each person's experience, black and white in America. Our stories, our sharing, and it could be used as an instrument of healing. Talking about our own ministry over the years, the phrase that came to me in thinking about what we've tried to do, we like to refer to it as the ministry of proximity. And so the community that we lived in, just outside of Birmingham, Fairfield, Alabama, there was a time where a lot of white people moved out of that community. And we were pastoring a church in another tradition at that time. And we really felt like the church needed to stay. They were thinking about closing down the church and moving out to the suburbs. And a renewal took place in that church. And the leadership said, no, we're going to stay here. And we want to learn better how to be friends with the people. And so proximity, I mean, you become friends through being closer to people that you may be commenting on or stereotyping or criticizing, whether positively or negatively, their assessments on society, on life, on race. And we said, well, let's just stay. And people began to relocate, more white people began to move in. We began to visit homes. We sat on porches where no white man had ever sat before just to have a conversation. And we learned that these people, some of the people weren't even allowed to be where our church was in years past. It was segregated. And so we had people coming to church, African-American people were across the street. They weren't allowed to cross the street. And just to hear the stories, you know, like it was like, what? You know, and you just kind of get the story. And you hear about, oh, well, you know, I'm trying to buy a house and for some reason they're telling me I can't get it. And I would make a phone call and say, I'm interested in the house. And they'd say, well, we're ready to sell it to you. So this is part of the realities, you know, and, but you got to be close enough to have the conversation. And that's what Bishop Baker did last March. He said, let's get closer in proximity. Let's share our stories, our hopes, our fears, our anger. Do it respectfully. And let's see where we go from here. Let's see what God does in this.
And for proximity, what we believe God called us to was to stay in a community. We could live wherever we want to live, and we live in a predominantly African-American community. And we've been there for 36 years. We sent our kids to a predominantly African-American school. Our kids were the only white kids there. But I wasn't raising, when we did this, and not, you know, this isn't everybody's plan, but this was our plan. We wanted our children to get a good education, but we wanted them more than that to get God's heart.
God's heart. Yeah.
And so we lived there, and everybody was our friend and our neighbor, and people were hungry, and we started a soup kitchen, and we fed 150 people every single day for 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's not anything, it wasn't crazy like you think. It was the encounter of the human being, one person at a time. And I can remember walking into a white grocery store in Birmingham, Alabama in 1980 with my African-American friend, and the white people looked at me and said, "Who is she? Like, was she my maid? Who was she to me?" And I had to say, "She's my friend."
Yeah.
She was Carol. She was my friend, and she had a name. And feeling the prejudice of that from African Americans and also from the white community. But the church has the answer, because we are all one in Christ Jesus. We are all one. And so if we, the church, would let down our prejudices, and we all prejudge, but we can't hate, and we can't be racist, and we all have to put all of that at the feet of Jesus so we can love big.
Bishop Robert Baker, STD, is here with us today. Don't ever underestimate the power of Christ and reconciliation. You're not going to want to miss this show. It will be an instrument of healing today throughout this world. We'll be right back. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're an important part of our EWTN family, and we would love to hear from you. If you have a question today for our guest, Bishop Robert Baker, who is the Bishop of Birmingham in Alabama, give us a jingle during the live broadcast at 1-800-221-9460 outside of North America. You can reach us at area code 205-271-2980. You can always send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and hopefully we will use your question right here on the air. Well, Bishop Baker, it is our pleasure to welcome you to At Home with Jim and Joy. We're just thrilled that you're here, and we're excited about the conference that you had, that reflection time during Lent in March. But before we go there, our EWTN family would just like to hear a little bit about you. And so why don't you tell us where you were born and raised, your call, being ordained, serving in St. Augustine in Florida, and then being a bishop in South Carolina.
Well, I know you've heard this 1,000 times, but it's a joy to be with Joy and Jim today. And I really am honored to be with you distinguished people. I know you've asked me to speak of myself, and I just want to say, over the years as bishop here, I've been very edified with what you have done, not only in this program, but with the cause of life. And every year we work together and March for Life here in Birmingham. So I commend you and thank you for the witness you've given to our Catholic community and the wider community. Since becoming Catholic, we've come to know you, and thank you for the great gifts you've given. Well, myself, I've been bishop here almost 9 years. I was 8 years bishop in Charleston, South Carolina, and then before that, a priest of St. Augustine diocese for 29 years. And I worked in a gamut of areas. Fortunately, also working with campus ministry, teaching in a seminary. And I just had the privilege yesterday and a couple of days before to be with our own students at the University of Alabama. We dedicated the Sabin Catholic Student Center, and a very important part of our ministry is to our university students to get them plugged into sharing their time and talents with the rest of us.
Did you give Coach Saban some plays you want?
Did I give him some plays?
Some plays for Alabama? He seems to be doing pretty well.
I did. I was with him a couple times.
Yeah.
He was at Mass, the Mass I celebrated also yesterday. We talked a little bit about the role of discipline and how his own approach to being a disciplined human being and disciplining his team. He says that all pain has two results or causes: discipline and disappointment. So you have a choice. But anyway, with my own situation, I served in many areas of ministry besides campus ministry myself at the University of Florida. I taught at the seminary in Boynton Beach, sacramental theology, and so I had a time there working with our seminarians in Florida, mostly Florida, Georgia, and the Southeast, and did parish work, was pastor of a couple parishes with schools, and that was a challenge, knowing how you have to really get out there and beat the bushes to keep schools alive today, and that's been a concern of mine here in Birmingham, in a special way, to keep our schools in our poorer neighborhoods, the urban neighborhoods, alive. I think the church needs to be there for the poorer members of our community and those that are struggling in the area of education. So unfortunately, I think the Catholic Church has kind of moved away from the center cities, and that's why I admire you so much for spending all those years living in an urban neighborhood and then being a witness with the predominantly black community, that there's a call for direct, proximate, as you mentioned, relationships with the people there, and that is something that we're striving to do. We started it with our little program that we put on in March, conversation on black and white in America. We have a CD and a DVD that came from that. We hope to have that published in print form eventually, but it was a great opportunity for us to, here in Birmingham, where with the ground zero of civil rights movement, to move the conversation along. And we just felt, some of us, that the country was moving in the wrong direction. There were too many riots around the country, and the church needed to be in the middle of the conversation. So we've fomented a conversation back in March. Serious problems happened after March this past summer. And we did learn a lot from this conference on black and white in America, how deep the divide. But part of the conversation was, what are people doing to remedy the divisions? Well, we found out, first of all, that there are divisions. They're deep, and they're pervasive. They're a lot deeper than people want to admit. So we inaugurated the conversation, and now I'm carrying that conversation on with listening sessions. So that's a little bit of a quick overview of what I have done, where I've been.
Well, the timing of it was just absolutely incredible that you would do that in March. So much, as you said, took place in various cities in terms of accusations of police overstretching themselves and possibly using more force than necessary, whether that's right or not, and riots taking place. But your conference was before those things, and gathering together was really a prophetic conference to say, we need to be conversing, we need to have dialogue. Some people would say, well, maybe we're done conversing and done having dialogue. But I guess I want to ask you, why do you feel having the conversation? What do you mean when you say dialogue? Because you articulate it as something profound to really have, to bring people together in this way, and that this could really be a source of understanding and possible reconciliation. Some people would say, we need action. Isn't that action too?
Well, you have to start somewhere, and I think we felt it was beyond just the Catholic community doing this. We felt the need to engage the broader community that would go across faith boundaries, Christian faiths, Jewish faith, Muslim faith. So we brought everybody in to that conversation. Not easy to do. I think we had some phenomenal speakers that even from Africa, Archbishop Obinna from the Owerri diocese in Nigeria, who was from a tribe that was, many of them ended up slaves at one time. So he knew his people experienced slavery firsthand back 10 generations ago. So we had a marvelous team of speakers, but why we did this was just the sense that too much was happening in America. We thought we had solved the civil rights problem 50 years ago. We hadn't. There were still issues that were unresolved, and they were deep in people's minds and hearts. And you lived that experience. You know it even better than I do. So what we were going to do about it? Well, we wanted to listen, and we brought religious leaders together and civil leaders. And Mayor Bell of our own city was an integral part of that effort. And actually, he and his chief of police, Chief Roper, are doing good things. here working, trying to be ahead of the problems. We are going to celebrate a Mass on the September 29th, the feast of St. Michael the Archangel, for our police officers throughout the area, and invite the wider public to come. It's called a Blue Mass. We also are picking up on what the Catholic bishops want us to do, to have masses for unity, harmony, and peace. We were unable to do it on September 9th, the day they called for. We're doing it on September 29th in coordination with the Feast of St. Michael. But all these segments or sectors need to be touched. And how do we share a message of hope in the midst of kind of darkness?
Yeah. You had various speakers, as you have said, that came there in March. You had the mayor of Charleston, I believe, that was there. And of course, their tragedy that took place there in Charleston was before your conference. And my recollection of that was that there was a young white man who actually befriended people in this congregation, the African American congregation, and befriended himself to them. They took him in. He was part of the Bible study, and then winds up shooting, I think, the minister there and maybe 7 or 8 other people, killing them, hoping to start like a race war. I mean, this is, and it was really interesting. It was terrible to see this, and everybody was on edge all over the country, because was this guy's hope going to come true? And instead, there was this kind of understanding that already taken place in Charleston or something. There was much more trust. Tell us about that. What did the mayor have to say? Because that's a great example and model.
It was. I think Charleston set the tone for the rest of the country. Mayor Joe Riley, who's highly respected, a white mayor in the black community there. And I was bishop, knew him well, and he was a lector at our cathedral just down the street from the city hall. A remarkable man who believes that crises are inevitable, and you just have to be ahead of the game. You can't just overreact or react to situations. So he had for the last, he's been a mayor 10 4-year terms, 40 years.
Oh my gosh.
And just stepped down last January. But remarkable person who knew how to connect with the black community of Charleston. And I was with him on a number of major occasions that really made a difference. I learned a lot from him, but his faith influenced how he went about building bridges. So when that happened, that terrible tragedy, that city did not blow up. And I think he gave us some ideas. Be there with the people. Be out there with your police force, with the people. Get to know, the police force needs to get to know the black community well, where they're working, and they succeeded in doing that well. Birmingham's attempting to do the very same thing, and I think he gave us some lessons in how to avoid animosity, bigotry, and racism, and on a concrete, practical level as a politician. But he was influenced by his Catholic Christian faith. He was at Mass every Sunday.
What's going on with the church in Charleston in terms of cross-denominationally and with the Catholic Church? Because here was this person trying to incite, and yet you saw the church coming together, people coming together and saying, like, what you're saying isn't a reality with where we are. This is something you've done, and we're not going to return like evil for evil. We know the people in our community. It seems like that predominated, that went out.
There was conversation before, ecumenically very well done in Charleston. Before I had even gotten there, there was a strong ecumenical movement. So there was conversation there, and they were able to come together too with this terrible race situation.
Bishop, sometimes, when you see the headlines and you see how deep the divide could be and you see the problems and you think, you just want to put your head in the ground and say, what am I going to do, and build this little bubble around my family and pretend that this isn't happening, but it is happening. And I believe that the church really is the only one that has the answer. I don't think politicians have, they're part of it, but we, the people of God, because we are all humans, we're all in this together, we're all part of the human family, we're the ones that have to take the first step and connect and to say, one-on-one. I can't solve racism. I've lived in Fairfield for 36 years. I can't stop abortion. You know, we run a pregnancy medical center, but we do it one-on-one, so that if someone was to say something bad about it, I could say, that's not my experience. That's my neighbor, that's my friend, I go to church with that lady, I go to church with that man, right? Don't you feel that out of the dialogue that this could come, where we, the people of God, rise up?
Well, people have to take a step, and I hope we can engender, all I can do is work with my Catholic community to take that step as bishop, but I admire people like you, that theology of proximity, just individual couple. And there aren't many people like you doing what you did to move into a neighborhood where you could build the bridges. One of the speakers at our program was a Baptist minister who moved his family into an area near the Woodlawn area.
Yeah. Wow.
And, you know, he had problems. His house was broken into 2 or 3 times. But he wanted his daughters to overcome the barriers of racism, as you did with your children. I think Catholics need to take the lead in that, and we need to be at the forefront of those solutions. And we can talk about the kinds of solutions that are going on. One of my concerns is education in the center city urban areas, that Catholic Church has moved away from those to a large extent, and sold our schools to other people, and just say financially we can't afford it. I would say we can't afford not to do it. The end result will be more of these riots. Notre Dame has done a study that says that the mere presence of a Catholic school in an urban neighborhood brings stability to that neighborhood, just the mere presence. And they're saying Catholic schools. And we have so much to give. Now people say, Bishop, forget it. It's the end of the Catholic school era. We don't have the sisters. We don't have the funds to do this anymore. And I say, well, if we really want to do it, we can do it. There are people that will help us. And I did talk to the Sabins, you know, asked them for a signed football, and you know, and they, why we'd be happy to. We're going to send you a box with help you out, Bishop. And he has a program called Nick's Kids.
Right.
And they help center city kids out. I mean, they're Catholics that are of means, that are willing to help. So, and we do have the Crystal Ray High School, and there are businesses here that allow the students to work a day a week to raise the funds for their tuition. So there are solutions. The Catholic Church has always been creative in the midst of problems. And in this time and era, we need to be creative. Well, all we wanted to do with this Black and White in America is involve us in the conversation that, you know, how deep is the divide? And we found it is much, much deeper than we ever thought. And people began to trust us. So now I do listening sessions, white, black, and hear people out. At this point, I'm just moving around listening to people. You know, what are the problems? What do you see? And if they trust you, they'll tell you.
Right.
We need not be offended when they say, Bishop, you should have been on top of this or that. You weren't. Well, I wasn't.
Right.
So
I'm here now.
I'm trying now, but we have a long way to go. Do we want to see all our inner cities burn all throughout our country? Well, there's a kettle and it's boiling, and the lid is about to be blown off.
Right.
Unless we act, and we're a little bit over. Now it's overreaction. We should have been there. We should have realized. You did, and you were.
Yeah. What are you hearing from the Black community or people involved in a variety of ways? I mean, there's some negative things, and I could hear already in my own mind people just on the edge wanting to have an answer for it real quick. You know, whatever you heard. And I think part of the conversation and dialogue is that even in what you hear, you're not necessarily saying that's accurate or factual. Right. You see, and that's very important. That's how you have the dialogue, or else you can't even say it because somebody's going to give you the answer for it and give you the reasons why it's not happening. And that's part of why dialogue and conversation is so important. To just give a little space to say, we at least have to hear whether it's accurate or not. And much of it is accurate. But even if it's not, this is the perception, or that's what's here. Can't we hear and then, you know, develop a friendship and maybe be trusted enough to say something.
Well, I think if people trust you, they'll speak their mind. And what I've tried to do is have open-ended discussions. So my objective is to move into predominantly black parishes with white people with me, the Caucasian, and then move into the white area, Caucasian, and with black people with me to hear them. And let each congregation speak freely. And I've had a couple where there's joint. I've been in high schools. At the university, I just had a listening session. And so you're not taking sides and saying who's right or who's wrong. Right. You're just basically listening to the people's opinions, and then we'll draw closer to solutions. And in the midst of even those listening sessions, people come up with solutions. Well, let me just say that many among the black community just feel we have really not moved further along from the 1960s. That while maybe civil rights has moved along and privileges, you can eat at the different restaurants and that, but the relationships, the heart change hasn't happened. Now just think a little bit what had happened in Birmingham, for example. There was white flight. Many, if not most of the white community moved even from Fairfield out, and so leaving pockets of black communities. What happens with that is that blacks and white don't interface or don't converse. So one of my goals is to get people conversing so that there would be some partnership of parishes, and the people want that. The black community would welcome people from white communities to come to their parishes.
Okay.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have much more with Bishop Baker. Don't go away. You're at home with Jim and Joy, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and remember, we want you to be a part of our show. So if you have a question for Bishop Baker, give us a jingle during the live broadcast right here at 1-800-221-9460. Outside of North America, you can reach us at area code 205-271-2980, and you can always email us jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and hopefully we will use your question right here on the air. Well, now don't forget to mark your calendar for this coming weekend. September 17th and 18th. Bishop Baker will be there. Jim and Joy will be there. Come on down to Birmingham, Alabama for the wonderful, beautiful EWTN family celebration. Help us to celebrate the life and the legacy of Mother Angelica. All your EWTN favorites will be there. Bishop Baker will be there to celebrate Mass on Sunday. Your kids will have a fun time with the Donut Man, and you can shop at the wonderful special religious catalog. That will be there, and you can buy wonderful holy reminders for yourself. There will be plenty of opportunities for adoration and prayer and confessions. So the best part of our family celebration is it's free. Operative word, it's free. You can get all the information for this year's EWTN Family Celebration by going to EWTN.com, clicking on the Family Celebration link. Don't forget, it's the EWTN Family Celebration, and it's this weekend. Can't believe it, September 17th and 18th, and we do hope to see you there.
All we need is you, especially if you're close by. Travel on in, be with us. You're an important part of the family. Well, Bishop, it's just delightful to have you here. What are you hearing from the people? You're listening. Are they offering any solutions or sharing problems or a little bit of both, or what are you learning?
I want to say, first of all, that you are the experts, even more than me, and they're being very humble here because you have lived this life and the solutions you presented by your proximity. So I think that's certainly one of them. What I've heard is a few different things in on and off. Parishes need to visit each other. In other words, you live across town, send a delegation over, do a retreat together. Parish partnerships really is so important that while we live distances apart, we can still be together by partnering. And especially like with this school, Our Lady of Fatima, folks help me on that. We're trying to keep that school alive. I'm asking wealthier parishes to partner with them and help them out. There's no reason a Catholic school in a center city neighborhood should ever close because there are wealthy parishes on the other side of town that can keep them alive as one of their missions. We send missionaries off all over the world. We have them in our backyard. So there's an example. Prayer. There's a certain innocence that takes place in prayer. So we level ourselves, the hostilities depart. Open dialogue. They've told me, Bishop, if you're going to do this, just realize there'll be raw feelings coming out. So let them come out. So I do. I don't stop them from happening. Healing services. Well, we need to do that. Archbishop Obina from Africa, I brought him originally to have a healing service for slavery because the Igbo tribe he belonged to, a lot of those people took their lives when they came here in suicide, walked into the ocean. We don't realize the ramifications of slavery itself. Healing, so we did a healing service. There's a teen perspective, teenagers. They were with us, and they just pointed out, you know, when you have a common effort together, like a sports team or a band, you think of producing. Nick Saban manages to work things pretty well with black and white football players. Bear Bryant helped start that off. If you see the movie Woodlawn, it's a beautiful expression of how he helped integrate his team 30 or 40 years ago. So if you're working for a common goal, you work to win. The teenagers told us that. The black community approaches issues differently than the white community. There's certain things that, you know, each race has as virtues and values and that their strengths. So we need to respect those. And the black community told me, Bishop, in our liturgies, we do it a little differently sometime, and you need to be aware of that respect that difference. The distrust of the police is a reality among the black community, and that conversation went on in the parish. I was at the black parish, and there were two black police officers in the parish. One of them got up and said, I disagree with what you're saying about the police department. My wife and my mother worry about my coming home alive at night. So just be careful what you say about these comments. Don't generalize. That was in a black parish. So we have to have ways now, and we're going to try to do that with this, starting our Blue Mass for the members of the police force in the area, and then make it open to anybody else. There's a belief among many of the blacks that institutionalized racism still exists, and I haven't seen it coming to Birmingham so much myself, but I'm isolated from that. So we need to hear that. That's what they're saying. Many of the people are saying. And our schools now, we can work on that. Like John Carroll Catholic, we believe we have pretty balanced approach. We have now representatives on a committee for racism at John Carroll Catholic High School in Birmingham from each class. And we have Sister Margaret Andrew as the chairperson for that. So she helps watch those areas in our school. I'm going to do another listening session elsewhere.
Bishop, before we go into another good list like that, let's take a phone call from Anna. Anna, you're at home with Jim and Joy and with Bishop Baker. Your question, your comment. Go right ahead.
I first want to comment and thank all of you for all that you've done, especially Bishop Baker starting this dialogue, and what a timely thing that it did come up before a lot of the things that have happened around the country. I also want to comment that the Catholic schools in Birmingham were always the first to integrate. And if not for that, growing up in the 60s here would have really been impossible. I have wondered of you, Jim and Joy, whether or not you could have done the same thing in New Jersey? And if so, do you think you would have run into as much prejudice as you did here by moving to the South and with the marks of racial prejudice through the years?
That's a very interesting question. It's very difficult for us to see ourselves. We've been here so many years now, 36 years or so, 37 years in the Birmingham area. And I never really thought, frankly, about the work of racial reconciliation up north, although I can tell you that it needs it. I know from having family in Brooklyn, New York, as well as New Jersey, things could be very, very segmented. I know as a kid growing up, there was just communities. The Irish had their communities, Italians had their communities, and everything was very divided. But in our lives, really, we, coming into a conversion, that we were very committed to this whole idea of, you know, if people can't live together, Christian people, then the world has the right to say, in a sense, that God the Father didn't send Jesus, because he said we'd be one, and that somehow we had to show that. And God just led us in terms of our own lives. I experienced a radical conversion in Montgomery, Alabama, and then felt like I was to go to seminary in the Anglican tradition, and wound up finding a bishop back down in Alabama. So God was just moving us back down to Alabama, and finally brought us back into the Catholic Church. So our whole experience is really here. And we're just so glad that he led us into the Deep South, because our heart was very much, we need to demonstrate, no matter how many people, that the most segregated time is, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, the most segregated time is Sunday in the South, you know, between churches. And we just wanted to be reconciled and gave our lives, you know, for that in a huge way. And we really saw that happening through friendship, through dialogue, through conversation. Even at our center, at Her Choice, we always talk about having the conversation with girls who think they may want an abortion. And when we have the conversation, just let them share. We don't just jump in right away. How can you do that? Why are you thinking that way? Why, you know, this is why they're thinking that way, and this is what society says, and it's allowable. And so they go through all of it. 80% of them are Christian. And a lot of times we could raise the issue of being a Christian person. But if we just have the conversation, 80% choose life. And I think if we would just do what you're saying, just have the conversation between parishes, because prejudice is in our parishes. And if we just have the conversation and see one another, that probably 80%, 90% of the time, to be a healing of something, if we would just have the conversation.
Exactly. And that,
Yeah.
I just want to say, Anna, that, you know, when we came to Alabama, we didn't come to do social work. We came to do the gospel.
Right.
And one thing I learned early on in parish life and in living and loving where we did, I wasn't doing God a favor. God was doing me the favor.
That's right.
And he was giving me his heart. And I wanted to be guilty of loving. That's all. That's all I want. I was just trying to obey the king. I just wanted to love whoever they were, be they black, white, rich, poor, and Hispanics. And then Hispanics started moving into Fairfield. I mean, we're just people, and we're all on a journey to holiness. And so, you know, when we venture out in love and obedience, and we just want to be part of the solution, we want to be guilty of loving.
But when you do love, you can get crucified.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and that's a part of what you're saying. If you're going to go into this dialogue conversation, it's going to be like everybody's going to say, oh, that's really great. You know, you take hits.
you have to be able to do that.
Right.
But I would say, why not Birmingham as a center for starting this effort to listen, because this is where so much happened,
Right.
and garnering the support of our Birmingham community, which we did with this conference. We really had a broad base, not just Catholic people, but I think this should come from Birmingham, since so much happened here 50 years ago. So I commend you for having started that. And we would just say I commend all the wonderful Birmingham people that have plugged into what we're trying to do and are allowing me into their parishes and communities and schools to just listen.
Yeah.
So that alone is really, I think, a major step forward is what you're talking
Now,
about.
you had that list. We want to hear about
Another list, yeah.
Another great
Well,
list.
we all know Alveda King, and she's worked with you. You've worked with her for years and years.
Niece
and,
of Martin Luther King and daughter of A.D. King.
That's
Dr.
correct.
King's only brother. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she is working heavily on the pro-life efforts, and spoke to your fundraising effort this past year. But she has written a book, and I don't know how long ago it was, but I found it very interesting as a black woman, a good Christian, who sees a way out of all this, and she has what she calls the King Rules, and the book is that the King Rules, and it has 10 rules, and I'm just going to run through them real quick.
Good.
But they make sense to me. If we're going to find our way out of this abyss, it's not one easy solution, and these are 10 of hers that suggest there is hope. Well, start with making home a priority, and I think that's very big on her. She tells her story, being the daughter of
A.D. King.
A.D. King, and I guess in a house that was
Bombed.
actually bombed.
Yes.
In the Ensley area.
Ensley, right.
That was about 50 years ago. But home was big for them. She tells that story. Serve your family, making family a priority. Get a good education, and I just shared that with our university students. But we want to see that with our poor children too. The country and the church should not abandon schools in black or poor neighborhoods. And we're doing that. Guard your heart, defend life, as you've been working so well. These people are out in the front of the March for Life. You helped lead the one out in San Francisco. Right. You helped take part of that. So, I mean, you're working on so many of these same fronts, aren't you? Fight for justice. Well, yes, the Catholic Church needs to be seen. If there's something awry in society, why shouldn't Catholics be at the forefront? Why do we have to lag behind others on major rights issues? And I want to just put in one of my concerns right now, that even Catholics are facing rights issues taken away from them. We dropped the Iron Curtain with communist countries, and now we put up another Iron Curtain between religion and the state. I mean, outside the church, you have trouble practicing religion in the United States today.
Right.
It's hard to believe.
Right.
The communist countries used to do that. Fight for justice. Care for the needy. So you spend a whole lot of your life, you don't get a big salary, you work with the poor. Work for peace. So we're trying to build bridges, and Catholics should be really involved in that, as all Christians and all people of goodwill. Build the beloved community. So that's a wide and a noble goal, and Pope Francis is trying to lead us in that charge, and he emphasizes the importance of mercy. And then find your joy. Well, you found your joy.
Yeah, amen.
And, but joy is important. Jesus wants us to have joy and have it to the fullest. I told our university students, well, find the right profession in life, find the right vocation, and as you determine there's peace and joy in your life as you're moving ahead, that's the Lord telling you that this is it.
Yeah.
You might have to change majors 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
but eventually.
Bishop, I saw a word of encouragement from Cardinal Turkson, is
Yes.
it? And really, the Holy Father himself took an interest in the conference and in the future work of it.
That's right. And the Cardinal wrote to us, giving us a word of encouragement. The Pontifical Council of Justice and Peace, Cardinal Turkson, told us, you know, he was with us. He encouraged us in our conference. I was so happy to hear that because, you know, we had challenges, but Rome wrote us, and they wrote a beautiful paper. If somebody would like a copy of that, we'd be happy to send that to them. And I also recommend my little book. It's called When Did We See You, Lord? It's Matthew 25:31-46, which I wrote with the great preacher, teacher, theologian, and counselor, Father Benedict Rochelle, which touches on the basics of the corporal and spiritual works of mercy that are outlined by Jesus. I just want to mention also briefly another little book came out. You know, people are in prison. That's one of the works of mercy also. And when we visit Jesus in prison, a new guide for Catholic ministry by Chaplain Dale Resinella. There are people behind bars that are going to get out of the bars, and they can wreak havoc on society. Help them out.
Right.
So there's another aspect to that. When did we see you, Lord?
Bishop, thank you. What an honor to have you. Thank you for your leadership in this area of racial reconciliation. May it just flood our nation and flood this world. Thank you for your great work with
Thank you, too.
EWTN.
You're great.
Thank
God
you.
bless
God
you.
bless you.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and we're delighted. Now we have Father Leonard with us. But, you know, we would love for you to join us live right here. You could have met Bishop Baker today. You could meet Father Leonard. We would love for you to be a part of our studio audience. All you need to do is contact the EWTN Pilgrimage Department, and do that by emailing pilgrimages@ewtn.com, or just give them a jingle and make your time to come on down at 205-271-2966. The weather is changing. It won't be so hot here in Birmingham, and we would love to have you come and see us here in Irondale, Alabama. Well, we're going to go straight to Rome and hear from Joan. Joan, what do you have for us today?
Well, hello from Rome to all of you at home. And as we all know, yesterday, Sunday, was the 15th anniversary of the September 11, 2001 attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people in New York, Washington, and Pennsylvania. And yesterday, the Vatican recalled Pope Francis's visit to the Ground Zero Memorial on September 25th of last year when he was in the United States. He addressed a gathering of religious leaders, and he called Ground Zero a place where we shed tears and mourn those who were the victims of a mindset that knows only violence, hatred, and revenge. And the Pope said, we can and must build unity on the basis of our diversity of cultures, languages, and religions. And he told those present, we're called to resist every attempt to poison and destroy our relations, and to work together to strengthen our human family in respect for legitimate differences and a spirit of reconciled diversity. Now, the Pope, of course, prayed for the victims, the nearly 3,000 victims, and he said, God of peace, bring your peace to our violent world. Peace in the hearts of all men and women. Peace in the hearts of all the peoples of the nations on earth. And of course, after his words, he placed a white rose at the edge of one of the infinity pools where the names of all those who perished are inscribed in stone. And the Pope also met the families of some of the victims, as well as families of many of those first responders who died trying to rescue people and to help those in need. And you know what, folks? Sadly, all of those words of the Pope's are needed more today than ever. Well, time's up in Rome, but I am excited to say, see you all in a few days. Yes, I will be in Alabama for the EWTN family celebration. And next time I see you, we will be live in studio. So stay tuned. Back to you.
Thank you, Joan. Another wonderful and moving report. And yeah, Joan will be our next guest, I believe.
That's
She's
right.
coming
It's
up
going to be
next. We'll have her
fun.
right
That'll
here.
be wonderful, yeah.
So, Father, how are you doing? Your reflections on the show and Bishop Baker and this report?
Well, I'm doing very well, thanks be to God. You know, today is also a very special day in the church where we celebrate the memorial of the Holy Name of Mary.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and so we have this joyous day, and you know, it was wonderful to hear Bishop Baker and what he's leading, the movement he's leading, and bringing unity, bringing healing to peoples. And you know, this reminds me of Jesus. You know, this is exactly what Jesus was doing. You know, we look back in the Gospels, especially the Gospel of Luke, Jesus coming to all people, you know, going to the Samaritans, going to the Gentiles, and bringing them together, bringing himself to them, and trying to bring healing. And you know, there's still much of that needs to be done today, but through the efforts of Bishop Baker and our Holy Father Pope Francis and others, you know, there could be more progress in that. Yeah.
And Pope Francis is so strong on this whole theology of encounter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really, the need to really see people, and for us to reveal ourselves as best we can to them, them to us, and in the midst of that encounter, who gets revealed really is the Lord.
That's right.
The mystery of the Lord being yoked and united to each one of us. And I see Bishop Baker's work here very similar to that, having the conversation, having the dialogue, this being closer proximation to one another is really this theology of encounter. And if we do that, most of the time good things come out of it. The problem is we don't do it.
Yeah. And it's just, you know, just basic charity, looking at people. You're made in the image and likeness of God, not seeing a skin color, not seeing the ethnicity, but just seeing someone made in the image and likeness of God. You know, that's where it's at right there. It's just looking at that. That's how Jesus looks at everybody. Here's a soul.
Yeah.
Here's somebody I love. And, you know, we pray. We all need to pray for the grace to grow in that, you know, but, and the grace is available. Yeah.
Yeah. And we can't underestimate what the Lord desires. I mean, this is why he came, to heal us and to make the Jew and the Gentile and people from all different backgrounds and so on one through his blood, through his shed blood.
That's right.
Whether they do that or not, whether everybody comes to Christ or not,
Yeah.
you know, we love and we look for the face of Christ in every human being.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. You know.
Well, Father, why don't you give us a blessing and pray for our nation here in America, for healing and for all the nations of the earth.
Okay, of course. Lord God Almighty, we thank you, Lord, for giving us life. And Lord, we bring to you all peoples, Lord, of this entire world. And God, we ask that you bring us unity, that you bring healing where there is division, that you strengthen us in your peace and with your love, so that we may see all people as you see them, Lord, as people made in your image and likeness. And we make our prayer in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. And may Almighty God bless you all, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We know that you enjoyed Bishop Baker very much. Remember that reconciliation and peace will prevail. God bless you and all of your loved ones. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.